Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Design Recharge. I'm your host, Diane Gibbs, and I am a college professor of graphic design at the University of South Alabama. And I also have my own company, and I work as a designer. And I'm joined today by my good friend, another design professor, Ann Ford, whose birthday was yesterday. So happy late birthday, Ann. And her cat might make an appearance with her tail.
Her.
So you guys might get a little tail action today. So I'm excited to talk about creativity blocks and what we do. And so as a professor, I feel like we get a little bit of insight because we have our process, but sometimes it's so great to look at other people's process. And as a professor, we get to kind of show our process a lot, then the students really can impact us. But one big thing is that people have problems at different parts of the design process, and sometimes creativity blocks come at different times, and for different students, certain things work. So I think it makes you more of an expert than maybe just a regular person. But um, so we have a bunch of questions, and if you are a subscriber to the newsletter, you might have thought I had dropped off the face of the earth this week, and I'm so sorry that I got my letter out today and the questions out today. So sorry for the late stuff. It's just been a crazy week. So if you're not a member of the VIP email list, please go to designrecharge.org and sign up. It's in the box in the upper right hand corner. Just an email, and I'm never going to sell your email address or spam you, hopefully. Hopefully you don't think what I'm doing is spammy. Hopefully. Anyway, Anne, tell us a little bit about your background. I know you've been on the show like 3 or 4 times, but give us a little bit of your background, and so that new people might can see what all you've done.
I'm a newly promoted associate professor of graphic design at Virginia State University. I also own my own company. I do graphic design and a little bit of web design. Um, been in the business for a long time, um, and yeah, I love this show, so I'm happy to
You've
be
written
here.
books.
I've written books, yes, on package design, and co-authored, worked production designer on a couple of other books as well. Um, so yeah, I don't have my book to put it up, but it's behind me.
Maybe I can find it and I'll pull it in. Um, so why? This is something that we continually are dealing with, right? Is that something you have a issue with every day you teach with creativity blocks?
Yes, and it happens a lot, because we get kind of so focused on what we're doing, and then we get to a brick wall, or it's that blank piece of paper um, that we just kind of like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. I can't figure this out. I don't know what to do. Um, and then I see it in the faces of my students. I see them freaking out because they either don't understand or they try to design for me and not them. They try to give me what I want and or what they think I want. Um, and then that blocks them. That puts up a wall that they just can't get by.
I think some people work
So
with that pressure real well, and then some people don't. Some people, they have to do more time management, and it allows them to do more. But some people live off that kind of pressure.
right. Um, we'll talk about it a little bit, but my biggest breakthrough was between first and second year of grad school. So, um, and that's when I really realized that I could control breaking the creative block.
What was that triggered it?
Um, I don't know, other than just doing something I didn't normally do, which was I got behind my camera and stayed behind it for 4 weeks, basically.
Oh
Um,
wow.
I took a trip to Italy, um, in Switzerland, and I got behind that camera and I went crazy. Took over 8,000 photographs, and I still, and this was several years ago, but I still go back to it and I look through those images and still get inspired by even looking at them because I remember where I was, or you know, something about it will trigger an idea. Same way with sketchbooks, keeping all that stuff handy and going back through it. Uh, Recently, for a project, I was looking for some ideas and I pulled out my old sketchbook and um, got inspired to do something else. So, um, yeah.
I think stepping out, going somewhere, traveling somewhere always helps. I also think picking up a different tool, and you talk about that a lot. Or me and you talked about that a lot this week as we talked about the show, um, about getting away from the computer. And I know Meredith, you
Mhm.
said you've had a bad um, month. I'm hoping it's just these 5 days, but I think it's been the last 30 days. I think is what you're talking about, Meredith. And I'm so sorry because it can be really frustrating. I believe Meredith's kind of alone at her corporation that she's working for. So sometimes it's hard when you don't have other people to kind of go back and forth with. And that's something I'm kind of playing with doing something on Design Recharge, maybe on the weekend or something, or at night doing a creativity session where we just do something where we're stepping out of our normal environment and popping up. And I'm so sorry, Meredith. I see the little unsmiling face. Um, yeah, and so anyway, I'm thinking about doing something like that and planning something like that for the end of June. So you guys be, if you're interested, you can email me back and let me know what day you think you'd want to do something like that and give me some times and we'll see. So as you're dealing with these constant like breakdowns with students and creative blocks on your own, um, what can you give us some? You talked a little bit about your sketchbook project, and then you talked about the photography. And I pulled some of your shots from, I think it's Italy, from your Flickr account. So, do you want to talk about those first, since that kind of started the breakthrough?
Sure. Um,
Okay.
because that is the one, I think, the one thing that I realized when I had that big breakthrough about, you know I had every intention of going on this trip to paint and draw, to get back into something that was non computer related, design related. I just really wanted to like kind of experiment with something different than what I had been through. Those of us who've been through grad school know what that first year was like when you're trying to put your thesis topic together. And by the end of that, you're just kind of like, duh, you're brain dead. Um, so, so this trip, I just started taking photographs, and I never touched the painting, because I was so fascinated by what I saw. Um, just the juxtapositions of signage and buildings and people, and uh, going into the museums and looking at art, and standing in front of David for the first time and seeing how massive that was, and the goosebumps that went up my back of my neck. Um, so that was a huge breakthrough for me. So I like I said, these photographs that are on Flickr actually live on my computer. I find myself going back to them a lot. Um, like I said, because I know that that was a huge breakthrough for me. Um, you and I both know Rob Carter, and he asked me what the H happened to me over the summer when I got back in the fall, because it was such a huge transformation.
That's cool. Well, I know BCU is great about pushing us, so I was thankful to be part of that as well. And I know they tend to, if this is something you tend to do, then they want you to push to something else. So if Marius Valdez, he's been on the show before, and he's an illustrator, and they said no, you need to use your camera, and so they pushed him, and he started making 3-dimensional stuff, and then that thing really hit off, and it sparked something else. So um, if you can't go to Italy, or somewhere exotic or different, sometimes it's simply about changing your daily structure, like
Hmm.
taking the bus to work instead of driving, or walking somewhere instead of going to the little corner grocery store instead of that you walk to. instead of going to the main grocery store, or if you just go to a different place to go do your basic things. Um, to me, stepping out of that um, every weekly kind of pattern, hey, that's great. That's almost like, yes, exactly, almost like Italy, Tennessee, absolutely. um, but I think it's one of those things that, yeah, Anne has lots of ties to Tennessee. So,
See the orange
um,
wall?
yeah. Well, Meredith and I both went to Auburn, so we like the orange for a different reason.
Sorry.
Um, different orange too, um, but I think that's one of those things. If you can't, I mean, I think that's one of the things designers are great about. Well, we're problem solvers, so I can't go to Italy. You can't just cry in your corner office or something, or in the closet because you can't go to Italy. You got to find what you can do. And I, I mean, I
Right.
was in corporate America too, and I used to walk to work or rollerblade to work um, when I didn't take the bus, just to do
Right.
something different.
So, Meredith, can you get out of your office for lunch? That would be something. Take a walk. Take your camera to work, go out at lunchtime, and just look up instead of down when you're walking. Go slowly. Just take photographs of windows. Say one day you do windows, one day you do doors, one day you do, trash that's on the sidewalk in front of you, signage, anything like that. Because when you get back and put it on your computer, you see something different than what you saw through the viewfinder. So you're kind of doing this twice. And it doesn't matter whether you're in Italy or not. You can also go watch a documentary on Italian artists or, on Italy or, anything like that. But it's just a matter of getting out of your office. Um, I like that, Jason. That's great. Uh, it's just getting out and getting away from the tension that you have in that environment that's blocking you. Um, yes, I did this, but I also do it with my students. I take them out. I say, get out of the lab, go outside, take photographs, draw, sit and just look at your environment, um, anything like that. It it's amazing, anytime that I have a student that's going somewhere, like during, like if they go fall break or Christmas break or Thanksgiving or whatever, I always tell them take an hour or two for themselves. Like just do something for themselves. I tell them usually that every weekend, that schedule yourself an hour of downtime, whether it's playing a video game, whether it's going to a bar, whether it's going to the movies, whether it's, just hanging out with your friends. You've got to do that, or your brain gets full and you don't have a trash can like we have on our computers to get rid of it. So, I mean, I think that is the biggest thing that will work for anybody. It's like, yes, we've all been in corporate America and know how difficult it is. And Meredith, I have been in several companies where I was the only creative person in the building. So I understand where you're coming from. And it is hard. It really is hard. And I wish I'd have known how to do all this back then. Um, but like I said, it all happened to me by accident.
Okay, I just don't want to interrupt you. But Meredith, I also think it's really important for you to get a group, and it doesn't have to be designers, but it would be great if they were. And you could do a spree cast one if you wanted to. We could pull people in. Again, that's where maybe this is could be kind of cool because then I bet Nikki maybe would do it with us, and she's in San Francisco. So you're going to get different perspectives, and because she's seeing different things, I know Nikki has done that photography thing, and I think that really helped her. It seemed like some of your process really changed, Nikki, from what you did, maybe somewhat before as what you did after. And I know Nikki's really been working on a lot of hand drawn stuff and really committed to doing something like that. So I'm gonna pull up some of Anne's photos, and I think that's a great idea. Just do windows, and that's a good one just for students even as well. So here's some, and if you're new to Spreecast, you can just mouse over this and then move it wherever you want to. You can put it over my face where you can put it over the chat or whatever. But I really like this image in particular, and I mean there were so many. For if you click on the top part, if you mouse over and you click up here like the Flickr.com photos, chamber design, whatever, um, it'll take you to Anne's Flickr account, and you can see a bunch of other photos. But like I love the sculptural parts, but then I love the flat color and how there's person. You think maybe it's a small window, but then you see how tiny the person is, and there's just scale issues or changes that we don't have maybe so much here in America as much, I guess. So I love this piece. Do you want to talk about this one at all?
When I took the photograph, I didn't see her there. Like I was looking more at the architectural details. And I was like, wow, that is really cool. There was somebody in that window when I took the picture. Um, and yeah, I mean, I was just looking at how, the ornamentation on these buildings and the windows and doors. Um, I mean, there are a lot of pictures like this of various different things. Um, so yeah, that was just a happy accident that she was there.
Okay, so I'm going to pull up another one that again, it's just this kind of reminds me of John O'Neill, and I know he normally comes, but he's doing something else today, and he wasn't going to be able to come. So this one is another, and you'll see kind of why Anne's taught with John. So I think just the lines, and I don't know what attracted you to this, Anne, but there's so many different lines here that
Yeah,
are really cool. I think.
this was in Venice, and we were walking towards the not in Venice, it was in Pisa. And we were walking down the street towards the Leaning Tower of Pisa. There's another photograph of the whole thing, the doorway. But I saw this reflection and was fascinated, so I just shot a photograph of it. Um, I've used this in a lot of design work just for the sheer angles of the shadows.
It's a cool one. I mean, some of these are just absolutely beautiful architectural, like this one, which I think this is somebody that's last
It's the
name starts with a
Duomo.
B. That yeah, but who
Yeah,
made it? Brunelleschi.
um, yeah, I think so. It's where the doors are. What they call it's the Duomo. It's where we met every day. And it was really a rainy day, you can tell. It was a really, really rainy day. Um, these were like towards the end of my trip. I said, we went here every single day and I didn't take photographs of this particular building. So I made sure I got a lot of them before I left. Uh,
But to
this
me, to
building, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
No, this building was just the lines, uh, you know, the grid. I see it's such a grid here.
And that's what I was going to say. Sometimes, like Meredith, if you're really stuck, take a piece of architecture like this that does, you really can grid it out and then use that as your basic. So that part with that big window, you could have something so that it's clear where your type is or something, or bridge it across these, and then have something big that's circular in the middle. And even like this is kind of off center, even though it's really centered, but it's kind of off centered here. And then you have these other angles. Just put a piece of tracing paper over this photo and kind of make your
Mhm.
own grid structure using that hard angle coming. I have to do it this way because we're backwards on Spreecast. Um, but to me, stuff like that can be really cool to just taking a photo, and that may be a process that you aren't don't normally do, but use the lines of something that's already been photographed, not the lines of how it's a straight line and going across, but really taking those diagonals that are part of that photo. I don't know if that helps or not, but all right, let's pull up another one, which I think a lot of designers, we end up taking things that are really graphic. And I, of course, love this one.
Yeah,
What,
I
what
mean,
attracted you,
it was
Anne?
it was a construction area. There was other signs around there, but that could be interpreted more than just construction. So I just loved it. When I went to Qatar, and they have The all of their signage is very Arabic. Like they have on the school crossing, they have everybody wearing the full uh, burqa and
Hmm.
you know on the signage. So I kind of got interested in that um, when I was there, and this was after that. So I really liked this sign. Thought
Me
it was
too.
really interesting because it's not exactly what we would expect. I mean, we see it as a yield sign because that's what we're used to. Um, but I really liked the shovel.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so and then I think this is really graphic as well. And again, this has to do with that looking up kind of thing. And if you're
Hmm.
walking and you start taking facades of buildings, it's a different perspective. I've done that a lot. Maybe try that when you go to Tennessee, walk around and take, I mean, get out of the car and walk for one, and take pictures of, some of the facades of buildings. Those front facades can be really powerful when you come back to your camera or download your photos on your camera from your camera on your computer and look back at those same kind of angles and stuff. You get something else out of them. But I really like this piece.
Yeah, it was. This building was really interesting, and a lot of the things that I like when I'm or look at when I'm taking is a photograph is how things come together. So you on the previous one, you could see the angle that I was at. It looked like there were two separate buildings, but that's all the same one. It's just a matter of just looking up. That's why just look up and look around you and how things are juxtaposed against one another.
So here's another looking up one for sure.
Oh, I love this.
Me too.
This
Obviously, I
was
used it in all the promo for this
amazing.
this one.
Yeah, this was probably the best picture I took in there, and but I mean, just look at it. I mean, the ornamentation in between each one of those blocks is different. This is all hand carved. I mean, I'm just like blown away um, by this photograph. Every time I look at it, I see something different. Again, it was a once in a lifetime opportunity for me, I'm sure. So I'm really glad I took all these photographs because I can still go back now and look at things and say, wow, I don't think I saw that the first time.
Yeah. Um, and I just like that there's these details, and I wish we could get these. But sometimes it's perfect when you can cut something off and then go back and look at it and zoom in on your computer, I think.
Hmm.
Meredith, I think as you build this church, I hope you keep your camera close so you can take pictures. Sometimes it's of people. And I know Anne has some people that are in like this regalia. They're in these awesome colors and these hats that have these curves. And you see, if you go to that Flickr, I don't know if you can see if I can get that. Oh, here we go. I got it. And I'm going to post it up so you guys can go to her Flickr page and then um, do some other look at some of the other stuff because obviously I couldn't bring everything. She has some stuff from Hawaii. You went to a conference there and you spoke at a conference. Um,
Hmm.
oh, cool. So, oh
Jason,
yeah,
are you at Hatch?
definitely at Hatch. If you don't know about that, Meredith,
Say
they have
hi to
awesome
Jim.
books.
Say hi to Jim for me.
So here's I don't know where you took this, but this is for a printing press. So it goes with the Hatch show print reference.
This was a printing press in Florence that we visited. Um, and it was not necessarily actually it was a printing school. So they still apprentice. They still do apprentice work in Italy. You don't just work and um, go to, you go to school or learn how to do something and just go work. You actually have to apprentice to be a printer. So we went to this printing press, and this happened to be one of their older presses that was sitting around. Um, but they even had original stonework where the first lithography prints were made. They had a Picasso. They had a Picasso uh, that was there. And of course, I'm going around taking pictures of all the equipment and getting into the details of, like there's a big picture of the wheel that runs these presses.
Hmm.
And then I got photographs of a young lady who actually did a demo for us. So, but it was awesome, just just to see that yes, people still go there to learn how to print.
Well, I was trying to find it, but it kept messing up my sound, so I clicked off a picture. But you guys can hunt through. But the images of the wheel and I mean, the wood looks beautiful on there. The press, and she even has one of like where they're hold the little rollers. She has it's like the stack of where the rollers are. But this is from that same printing school, and I thought it was really
Hmm.
neat. Are those the litho
Yeah.
things you were talking about? Because that
Yes,
looks like
those are original litho stones, and they are about an inch thick. Um, that's why they're hanging the way they are. It was a three-color print. They didn't really tell us what the colors were, but it was just beautiful to look at, because it is done in a stone, not on a plate like we're used to seeing.
so to kind of go
It was,
back to one other image that I really like, I think this is, well, there's two, three more images, but you know, you talked about going around and doing windows, and especially if you're doing something that, like in an older part, if you're in an older city that or a city that has an older section, go. I love that the wood is so used around this, but I also love the handle or the knocker or the door pulls, knob, things like that can be really beautiful. Lamp, um,
yeah.
outdoor lamp things, I think in different cities are really neat. It's different. People think you're a little weird taking pictures of stuff like that, but it's kind of like Nina was saying last week, do it fast so that people don't think you're a weirdo. Um, but we're all a little weird, so that's okay. But I thought this, and I love the colors, so I thought this was a really nice piece to it. So
This
what
was
drew you to
this,
this?
a lot of these were sienna. Sienna
Mm.
had some very interesting ornamentation on their doors. That's where they had a lot of those really um, different looking light fixtures. Um, but it was, Sienna is sectioned off in these various different sections, and it was just, yeah, like there were several with, like there were some that were turtles, and gosh, I can't remember all of them. But if you were a part of this one group, you decorated the outside of your house with the icon that represented this particular group. So the only one I could remember right off is the turtles. Um, but this was part of that, a part of that, whole look of the neighborhood, basically.
That's cool. And it's different, but it would be something else to like focus on if you're in a real industrial area. Sometimes the keyholes are different, or just something different to kind of go through. And then this is the last thing that I'm going to show that has to do with our photography, because you did going out, getting outside, and doing something like that. And I love how you're taking pictures. I mean, we're designers, so she's taking pictures of the environmental design, and this is obviously at a museum in Hawaii. And so she's taking a picture of this, and so you can see how it's kind of built, and you see the shadow. And then the next one I'm going to show you, but I'm going to let her talk about this one, is the whole piece. So you can see what the situation that it was in. But I like that she's documenting the type, and not just found type, but of something. Oh, this was inspiring. I like the spacing or color or whatever it was. You want to talk about this one a little bit, Anne?
Yeah, a lot of the U.S., if you ever get to Hawaii and go there, don't bypass going to this museum. It's a national park, actually. Um, it moved me very much. Um, here hangs this bell that was on the USS Arizona, that it now sits at the bottom of, Pearl Harbor. Um, And I was really fascinated by, they use this gold color,
Hmm.
which is not a real familiar color to people to use, um, with these black and white images, and it really just popped. I like the way that the environmental designer actually did the signage, and it's raised so that you do catch shadows and lights, because all of the signage is done this way. Uh,
That's
and,
cool.
and I don't know. I like to I'm a type nut, so I document type everywhere I go anyway. So I took photographs of the signage.
So I'm gonna pull the other one up.
Yeah. So there it is in context.
Mhm.
So the story that sits right beside the actual bell. Um, yeah. And then you get back and you see all the people that were in the picture, and you're like, wow. Mm.
They were invisible to me.
Yeah, I had no idea who was around me. When I get into that zone, like you were talking about, feeling weird with the camera. I don't do that anymore. I just take pictures, and if somebody didn't like it, oh well. I just I found that's I just I have to take a picture of it.
Well, I know, Anne, you've done the sketchbook project, so I'm going to kind of transition to this. So, how has that? How did you find it? And if you guys don't know, I think there's a link. I'll look for it in a second. Um, can you talk about how it's affected you? Because I think we have some images of your sketchbook, and then
Mhm.
how it, because I think you do this as a class project as well, and how it affects your students.
Right. Well, it started. It was brought up at a board meeting for AIGA because I was on the Richmond board for a while, and um, the president or vice president at the time, David McIntosh, she goes, is everybody doing the sketchbook project? And I was like, what's the sketchbook project? So, excuse me, I was intrigued, so I went and looked it up. I ordered it. Yeah, it was history from there. I really enjoyed it. I looked forward to doing it. Um, I had fun. I got all my stuff out, all the stuff to draw with, and just really sat down and just let loose. And I was like, what a great thing if we would do this as a class project. Um, so the following semester or the following fall is when we do this. I had my students do it, all the students in my classes. Well, now it has grown to Mina and I both do it for all of our classes, and some of the fine art instructors are doing it as well. So we've almost got it to be a department-wide project.
But really, this is
Um,
all over the world. People are doing this project
yeah,
all over, and kind of explain the project a little bit and how it works.
you go on to the sketchbook project and you purchase a sketchbook. It's changed a lot since the beginning. You just get the sketchbook and send it back, and then it goes on tour. So it tours. At first, it just toured the United States. So it's an exhibition that goes around the country. Now it's grown into it's an international thing. So they have this. It's like a mobile library, like it's like a trailer that's pulled behind a truck or a van. And in there is all the sketchbooks from that year, that particular um, sketchbook project year. Um, but you go on and you order your sketchbook, and you can, a lot of times you can select a topic, like say, one of mine is looking through the trees, which is not this one, but this particular one we have here is a chapbook. And because of teaching graphic design history and chapbooks, I thought it would be great um, to do this. So um, the only parameters is it comes and it's this little sketchbook, and you have to make sure that the your label stays visible because this is how you check it out. So you go in and you can search different people on the computer, and then the people in the trailer, they scan it and hand you get yours and the one next to you. So when I was able to check this particular one out, I checked out. Um, I got one of my students along with it because then you get one and then you get another. So it was kind of cool just to see the whole setup, which I got to see at TEDx RVA this spring. And they actually brought the truck down because one of the co-founders was here speaking.
Oh,
So I
cool.
actually got to see it. So I've not been to Brooklyn. It's a fundraiser for the Brooklyn Arts Library. So you pay for the sketchbook, you pick your topic, it comes in the mail, you fill it up, and it's due back by the middle of January. Um, so we're doing this now as, definitely a design project, but hopefully the whole department will get on board, and everybody will do it. So they turn them in December at finals. We package them up. I put them in a box and I send them all together to New York.
So
So
this is, do you, I'm just going to pull them up and you tell me when to do the next one because I have them in the order of opening. So how big is it?
yeah, um, is it? It's not. It's a little bit smaller than a typical moleskin, like height wise. In fact,
So
I
it's
have
about like
I have
this.
my new one. Yeah, I have my new one, but it's on the other side of the room.
So like
So talk
this is
talk a
8
minute,
by
Diane.
10.
I'm gonna go get it. Yeah,
Okay.
talk a
So
minute. I'm gonna
this
go
is,
get it.
okay. This is 8 by 10. And this is, I mean, these are not from the sketchbook project. These are super cheap. I got this for $1.50, and then I put the graphics on it. And then this one I think I got for $1 from Guided Products or something. But it's thin, so you can't get a ton out of it. But well, I kind of like it like that. So, I
Well,
mean, they're
they have this
kind of
new
not that thick.
they have this new thing.
Ooh, even better.
It's called a sketchbook sleeping bag.
I like
And
that. Yeah.
so it comes this size
Hmm.
and it's this thick.
So
So it's really thin.
it's not that overwhelming to do in a certain amount of time.
No, it's not.
Which
Um,
is great.
so you just fill it up, send it back, and they log it in, and it goes on tour.
So then when you check it out, you have to give it back though, right?
Hmm.
I mean, it's not like you get to carry it home.
No, you have to do it right there and turn it in. Yeah. But another neat thing is if you check it out, you get an email. Somebody checks it out, you get an email. So like I've had mine checked out in Texas and Seattle and LA, and it's just kind of really cool. You get this email that says, um, someone just checked out your sketchbook in such and such a town, because it's
Oh,
instant.
that's cool.
As soon as it's done, the email is just automatically sent.
Anyway, that's
Something
something
new to
cool you could do with a bunch of people that weren't necessarily in your area and you could all scan it in because you obviously did your scans before you turned it in.
Right, but they will do that too. Now you
Oh,
can pay extra, and they will
60
digitize it for you.
bucks.
Yeah,
Yeah. And it's $25 normally.
$25.
And then if you want it digitized, it's $60. And I think that includes did you get the sleeping bag with that as well?
I actually purchased the sleeping bag at the truck when I
Oh,
when I checked my book out. I was like, oh, this thing is too cute. But see, it says it's going to be backwards, but
no, it's perfect. It says sketchbook sleeping bag.
hmm
That's cool. That's why they make
and it's
everything
just
backwards for us so that you can still read what we show.
so it's little nylon stuff, but
Oh, that's cool. So I'm going to just pull up
so
some
and
more images from it.
yeah, and this tells you can't see it, but
If you come
like
really
the,
close, we can.
a community. Um, Sketchbook community is over 75,000 people in 135 different countries. It goes on a mobile tour. You get notification. You're supporting the Brooklyn Arts Library. There are over 26,000 sketchbooks and counting. It grows every year because they keep them. Now they digitize them, and yeah, so it's a great project. Um, I really enjoy doing it. It is a break. It is one thing that breaks creative block because there's no pressure. It's a sketchbook. It's you just do with it what you want to do with it. Um,
Meredith and I would still be under pressure to make it look good because we don't want to
this
make
was yeah.
anything ugly.
I'm there with you. Remember we had this conversation.
Yeah, we have to get
There's
over it. I know,
there's nothing
but I
yeah
know Meredith
nothing more terrifying.
is is similar. So it looks like you're doing um I don't know, are you doing rubbings? Are you doing you're doing drawing, you're doing type, and then it looks like a linoleum block or some sort of block printing that you're doing.
This was actually a piece of paper that came packaged in something or wrapped around
Hmm,
something, and it's very, very thin. It's like rice paper, and so I adhered it to the page, um, and I'm using a like a transfer pen where you take a photocopy of it of a sketch, and I forgot to reverse it when I copied it, so I just left it that way because I thought, hey, that's kind of neat. I kind of like that, you know. But that's something out of my sketchbook. It's a drawing out of my sketchbook.
but even a
And
mistake
then I
makes you think about something because memory sometimes is what you remember. It might not be absolutely true, which I love that it's backwards.
and then I hand drew, you know, some quotes because a lot of this is about quotes. Like, you know, chapbooks were about collage and writings, and it's kind of like the beginning of the zine type thing. So that's what I kind of wanted to do with this was put a lot of text in it. So I found some quotes that were important to me. Um, this is a I went to this uh, church book sale and found some of the old books that used to put these pictures in them.
Yeah,
And I kind of deconstructed the book and kind of put it back in here. Um, again, doing some of the rubbings and then quotes from, like, this is from Herman Jaff about typography and uh, just staying along that chapbook feel.
okay, what about this one? And I mean, this is in order,
Um,
right? We're going in order.
I don't think it really matters.
Right.
I didn't go in order. I kind of flipped through the book as I was going.
Oh, cool.
Um,
Good way to do it.
these are from those same book series. Um, you know, that there was a quote in it says in the darkest England and out in darkest England and the way out. And so I took another picture from something else, looking out a window. And then I just somebody had given me or I'd found it somewhere in a pet store. It says, you know, this tall, skinny, short, fat. No one loves me like my cat. Which she kind of left the room because she's mad at me because I made her move. And these are, you know, it's hand drawn typography, it's hand drawn cat mixed in with found books and typography from books.
I love it.
Yeah, and this is my favorite um, poem from Langston Hughes. You know, it's following your dreams. You know, hold fast to dreams, for if dreams go, life is a barren field frozen in snow. Hold fast to dreams. Um, or if dreams die, life is a broken winged bird that cannot fly. Um, and you know, that's just one of my favorites. And again, it's all hand drawn type. This is what I do in my sketchbooks. You know, these are actual drawings from sketchbooks um, that I use the transfer on, and then just kind of like added to them.
So then here's another one with I mean, these great images.
Hmm. Yeah, these are. and I can't remember the name of this book. One of these books is a Bobbsey twins book, and if anybody is old enough to remember the Bobbsey twins, but I read those books as a kid, and so it's kind of even more, important to me, more meaningful to me. Um, but these illustrations in these books from the 30s, 40s were beautiful. So yeah.
Okay, let's see. And I like how because the paper is kind of thin, so you're
Hmm.
instead of just overlapping, you're using that kind of other paper to kind of help block some of that out. Sometimes you're seeing through it. I really kind of like that.
Yeah.
Here's another one.
Yeah, this is a drawing of a mask, one of the masks from Italy that I put in. Um,
And the Harriet Tubman quote.
hmm yeah, and of course my coffee. And this is a, a big quote, and um, Meredith, you should like stick with this. Those who created yesterday's pain do not control tomorrow's potential. Okay, one of my favorite sayings. Um, and of course, there's nothing without coffee. Have to have coffee. Notice there's 3 coffee cups there. So again, these are, when I looked at this and I composed it, I was looking at it as the kind of typography that was used in this publication. Right?
Mm.
And because this was the center spread, I kind of like just made it, a 2 spread thing. Um, but I just cut quotes out of the book, and then the images. And you can't really you can see it a little bit, but you see the one on the bottom, the image on the bottom
With the
where
man and
the
woman.
color, yeah, there's no color above their head,
Yeah.
and it didn't get very close to the edges of the mountains. I thought that was very interesting when I
Yeah,
was
just
was looking at these images.
different technique. That's maybe it's that you see that you could incorporate
Mhm.
or something. I think that's kind of neat. All
It-
right.
It's it's kind of looking beyond what you're seeing,
Looking what
just
wasn't
kind of a
looking beyond what was intended. Maybe that
right.
intentional message.
Hmm.
I think this is one of a very powerful spread to me.
Hmm.
And there's so much you can do with two colors, you know,
Right, which
or
is
maybe three
something that we don't
colors.
teach anymore. When at first we were the ones that were using, 1 or 2 colors and how much you could do with it because of printing costs. Um, but yes, I love this photograph of the praying hands, and that's what he's doing is praying. And then the other where this soldier is kind of standing in the shadows. Uh,
And then I love the brightness of this next um, spread.
yeah, this is from the Boxy Twins book. This is the that
Not just my shirt,
oh yeah. Um,
but it is
what?
powerful what you could do with only one color, even.
Mhm.
Maybe we need to limit ourselves sometimes.
And this was definitely a silk screen. You could feel it.
Oh,
So it
cool.
was yeah, it was very nice. That it's the whole play thing. Um, we forget to play.
Yeah. Well,
And this is a spread.
the name on the bracelet. And then you wrote your
Hmm.
name, I guess. Did people used to call you
Yes.
Annie?
Yeah, I have a bracelet that has that on it. So
Oh,
that's why I
cool.
used it. When I was a kid, that's what my parents had bought me a little, silver, ID bracelet, and that's what was on it.
Cool. I like how it's not just it's you're really going with that. The one thing that's connecting is the quotes going through, but you're really taking different kind of different things, items. You're not always just doing flowers or always doing kids or always doing whatever. So it makes it more like an inspiration book. So that's kind of cool. It's something for us to remember to do.
Yeah, this is another piece of that on the right hand page is another piece of that rice paper.
Oh yeah. That bottom flower, was that part of that rice paper
That's
pl-
part of the rice
printing?
paper. So I said, well, let's put some more flowers on this page and do quotes about, smelling the roses, basically. Um,
Nikki, I think you'll like this next one because she's writing in a bunch of different. She writes art in a bunch of different kind of ways.
hmm
And I love
yeah.
the bottom one. Like that's one of my favorites where it's kind of erased. I guess it was that transfer, or was
hmm
it pencil?
it's done in pencil, but it's to transfer.
That's cool.
Um,
Just sometimes a different tool. And we talk. One of the things Anne talks about with her students is getting them off the computer. And that was one of my questions, which of course I lost my sheet. Um, why do you think designers resist breaking away from the computer? I see this in my students all the time. um, it's like the computer, they feel like the computer's the only tool they can solve, and I think designers do that, like I do that even. And they're trying to save time, and they know, because they know they're going to be on it, how can we help ourselves and our students to avoid this kind of way of thinking of as this, oh, let's start here instead of somewhere else.
yeah, I mean, not only do the students do this, but they have to keep a sketchbook for all the classes, a separate sketchbook, because it's part of their process. This was my favorite one. Um, but it's part of the process that we try to teach them, and they're like, well, why do we have to sketch? Why can't I just start on the computer? Well, the first idea is not always the best. Yeah.
Yeah, very rarely.
Uh, um, and even if we don't practice what we preach, and we do kind of go straight to the computer and start working, we still need to have an outlet, still need to have a way to release some of the ideas that are floating around in your head. Because going back and looking at the old sketchbooks or going back and looking at these projects um, is where you find your own inspiration. You begin to build your own library of,
Mhm.
you know, oh, I remember doing something like that. Maybe I'll go back and look. Or you're totally stuck and you just start looking back through your sketchbooks
Right. Well,
and
another
photographs.
aspect to this sometimes is that um, group capacity. Um, that's very true. Well, I've known people who have gone. I am Sanchez, gone straight to the computer, unfortunately, and hopefully no real solid professional maybe does that. But I have known lots of people to unfortunately have to do that. But and the next question I want to ask is how the group, and for people like Meredith, you definitely can always tell the difference for sure. Um, how can somebody like Meredith get into a group that can help, and where do you think some of the best group parts of the process can be used? And do you have any exercises for that?
For groups or for individuals?
Well, let's say Meredith's got a group to be in, so we're gonna get her a group, or we're gonna become a group for
Um, yeah, there are several things you can do. One of which is, that quote by Langston Hughes that I like so much. Um, take something like that and create something with it. If there's a particular poem you like or a particular song that you like, take it and create something with it that has nothing to do with anything else other than what you want to make it. Um, because you're stepping out of what you do on a day-to-day basis. You're doing something different. Um, that's one exercise. A lot of times it's kind of uh, just write it down. You know, do a mind map, do a list. Um, if your brain feels like you're stuck, then write those things down and get it out, to just, you know, flush the toilet basically and get those negative feelings out of your head.
Right.
Um, because you're taking that negativity and putting it on paper and then you're getting rid of it and say, okay, let me shut this and it's gone.
So you used a group in your students were stuck, and you used kind of the whiteboard exercise, which I have both of
Hmm.
these two projects on the page on the website on the archive at designrecharge.org for this unlocking creative block. So do you want to talk about this a little bit? So where it started, how you use this exercise?
This was an exercise on type as metaphor, and they didn't understand. Um, so I said, okay, well, let's take the word. This word happened to be exercise. And I said, so let's think of every possible thing that you could do or you can think of that's associated with exercise. So, I mean, if you look at some of this, it just exploded into, you know, like some of the other words that I had given them. Like one of them was religion, another was vote. But, exercise is not just physical exercise, it's mental or emotional. So they picked up on that. So we did this. This was a small class. There was 6 students in the class, and we did this for every one of them. And this was last fall, and they still talk about it. Can we do this again? Can we try this again? Um, vote coming, with human rights and freedom and amendments. All of this it just kind of like spilled out, and they were just, you know, helping each other. They were not just because we did it as a group, they were talking about it. And when we finished this, every one of them had been drawing in their sketchbook the whole time that this was going on. And they almost all had ideas by the end of this exercise. Most of them finished their sketching by the end of the class and were able to start on the computer with their ideas. So this was this was a very good exercise for those students to break that block and help them understand what it was that, what a metaphor is, and how we as designers, need to. That's how we communicate a lot of times is through metaphors. So how to use that in a positive or a communicative way.
I think for something like this, sometimes it's good to help other people with their project, with their problem, because then it helps you solve yours. So some of them are just really neat. And I think you can, as you go deeper, you get to see instead of just that first initial, that's the initial sketch, your first idea, and then it goes to that second deeper level, and then that third and fourth, and then you are able to come up with more meaningful design solutions, I guess. So I really like
Yeah,
I like this project.
mind mapping is the beginning. Um, and a lot of students don't understand what you mean when you talk about mind mapping. So you just kind of show them. And this is the student who was writing for me. He likes to write on a whiteboard, so he was doing all of it for me. Plus, I couldn't lift my hand over my head. But it was I've had them take a big piece of paper and do it and bring it into class and tape them up on the wall where they have started doing this, and then they stand up there and the class adds to it. So, this just gives them an idea of, they think I'm nuts when I say, well, you take that word that you're stuck on, or that image that you have in your head, what's that word? Now go to the thesaurus and look it up and write all those possibilities down and then explore it some more, because it's just kind of like you're sketching out all the possibilities with words. Um, and then it'll kind of narrow down your focus, and it really gives you these words give you visuals. Um, but you can actually go to sketching, literally sketching, and then the project is more thought out.
And sometimes you can do this
You
with
can
images too,
explain it.
but
Hmm.
when you do it with an image, if you have a house, it's going to, that picture is communicating as well. And if you just have the word house, it's not imposing other things on you, because house to one person might be mansion to another, and it might be a shack to somebody else or something. So it's all the
Right.
different things. But you could do it with images too, and you could take the word house and then have a cardboard box, or where your cat sleeps, or all this is their home or whatever.
Hmm.
And sometimes it's important, I think, to break it up and do something else. What are the different messages? And I think you can go in those deeper levels, but I think with in the very beginning, I think something like this is can be really powerful just in text.
Yeah, because
And I
they
was telling, oh, go ahead.
they tend to want to go image searching first.
Mhm.
So I try to get them out of doing that a lot by doing something like
Definitely.
this.
And we were talking about how I don't know if you guys ever listened to The Accidental Creative. It's a podcast by Todd Henry. He's written a book called The Accidental Creative, and um, he talks about how using groups, there's three great places to use groups. Sometimes we tend to use groups, especially in corporate settings, maybe at the wrong time. And one is when we define the problem. So what are we going to do this project about? And then we define the parameters, and then or what it's going to be about, or what we're trying to get across. And then in the refinement section, so after we've come with some ideas, or we do something like what we've done there. We branch off in as a group, and we do kind of a mind map kind of thing, and then that building on the ideas that are presented. So you come to the group with something that's out there, kind of like what Anne was saying. You have these big pieces of paper, and then you're gonna do your work, and then you're gonna hang them up, and then we're gonna respond to what everybody has seen. I think sometimes groups can work like that really well. And if you haven't ever, it's you go on iTunes and you look up podcast Accidental Creative. It's a pretty good one. Sometimes they're really short and sometimes they're a little bit longer, but something to help you as well. So there are two links, and they're both on. This is the PDF. This is Anne's project. I don't know if it will load. Maybe not. It is on oh, there it is. So it's
Yeah.
just because it's small, but yeah, it's a big PDF, but a small because you can't see it very well. So I'm going to actually put both of them. They're both at this link right here.
Yeah.
And
This was borrowed from Ellen Lupton's book, um, where I sent the students out to photograph point, line, and plane. It's
so
a
I'm
great,
going to
great project.
pop it up down there. Okay. Any publications you subscribe to for inspiration? Anne, can you answer that? Jason
Uh,
asked that question.
Design Observer.
That's an
Design
app too.
Observer. Yeah, you can get on your phone. Um, Design Observer, and I love typography.
I have that one
Um,
too.
yeah, I'm trying to think of the other ones. I had them written down. Now I don't know. I come here. I look at this. This is very, very helpful. Not just for me to talk it out, but when I come and listen and I see the comments that people make, and um, it's great just to come and listen to these spreecasts. Um, I'm a type nut, so I'm constantly looking at all the type blogs. Um, yeah, I think Design Observer is one of the ones that I really look at a lot because they have a lot of links to other sites, other blogs, things that I might be looking at. Um, Hi, Jamie.
Another VC person.
Uh,
Good to see you.
yes.
Um, you know,
Uh,
I would love to if you guys all send me what you look for inspiration. I can send everybody an email on the list of some places if it's links or something like that. That would be a great way for us to share, because I feel like you guys are critical to this part of the collaborate the collaboration of Design Recharge. So I know we're over our time, so I don't want to keep you too much longer, but um, I'll try if you guys send me at diane@designrecharge.org. I will make a list and we can all help each other and send each other information. And you can always post it to the Design Recharge Facebook page, which I will put on screen right now, and the Instagram. Thanks, Ryan. It's good to see you. I've missed you. I'm glad you've gotten some of the archives. That's awesome. And you can always follow me at Design Recharge and at Diane Gibbs AU. Pretty much the same stuff goes on both, but if you just want to do one or the other. And Anne's website is right here, Chambers Design, and it was up earlier as well. And then Anne, I don't know how she managed this one. She must have been like the first person on Twitter because she got her name. I had to be AU, which I know. Meredith, you know what that AU stands for? Um,
Auburn University.
Auburn. Yeah. Even though I'm in my Georgia jacket, my parents went there, so they only buy me that kind of clothes. So, and then Anne is there's her LinkedIn, and the other one.
Meredith, I put my email up there if you ever need any
Oh yes,
help um, or want feedback. Please email me.
and I'm good for that too. So you guys just use us. That's what we're here for. I do this because it helps me, but I also have a passion to help other designers, especially people who are in there doing it by themselves. And sometimes it's hard to get all the good stuff out. So that's why I do this. It's a weekly thing. Next week, just so you guys know, we have the creative group. The creative group has been willing to help me out quarterly to do a design recharge episode. So next week it's about networking. And so Meredith, I would definitely, you always come, so I'm so thankful. But Nikki, I know you're in the job hunt, so I think networking can be incredibly powerful. Yes, I do have one more question that I will email you both shortly. I know we're over time, so okay, that's great. Well,
Okay.
um, check out the archive if you need anything. It's great to see everybody. And Jason, I'm so glad you were here again. And Jamie, glad you could pop in. And guys, we'll see you next week. It'll be with Eric DeChera from the Creative Group about networking and how powerful it can be. And it's we're going to touch on social media and how social can be very powerful in networking as well. So, and if you watch the Zach Smith one, it's can be great. So Meredith, you go build a church and take some pictures and draw or do something while you're there. We can't wait to see some images. So you
Hmm.
guys have a great week and I'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Anne.
Thanks. Are we off?